Welcome in, everyone. I am Drew Frey. That is the ever-famous Mike Maahs, and welcome to another edition of TinChattin. Mike, thanks for joining us again.
Welcome to the inside
I know.
of TinChattin, otherwise known as the studio.
Right. No, I like it. It feels nice. It's also weather-controlled, which helps a lot, too.
Yes, especially the last week or two when the temperatures have been a little bit on the warm side.
Exactly.
Now, if the TinCaps could get a little bit warmer.
So we're watching for that a little bit, but I know we were just talking earlier about there have been some standout performances, some standout players just over this past week or so. Who are some of those guys that TinCaps fans should really have their eyes on?
Well, we were talking about a couple of the pitchers, and Manuel Pinales, who pitched Tuesday night. The TinCaps won at Great Lakes 7-0. He is pitching extremely well right now. Rain on Wednesday necessitated a doubleheader last night. The TinCaps lost the opening game of the doubleheader 4-1. Jagger Haynes went 6 innings, but he only made 2 mistakes. Gave up a pair of 2-run home runs in a 4-1 loss. Joshua Mears, you may not notice by all of the numbers, but he's playing better, especially offensively. He's not striking out as much. He's getting a few more hits. He's a little more patient at the plate. So he's doing well. Anthony Villar, if we had to vote for an MVP right now, I would give Villar my vote. He plays almost everywhere. He has pitched. He has a .00 ERA in
Beautiful.
3 relief appearances. He has caught. He has played first. He has played second. He has played third. But also, in the month of April, he only had 1 run batted in. And he has driven in over 30 runs since then. He's come up with some key hits. And he's really helped to stabilize the pitching staff. Anthony Villar definitely, I think, is the best player on this team right now.
Yeah, and having that age range, too, at these different positions. You have someone like Salas, who's 18 years old. Pinales is, already approaching his mid-20s, but still pitching really phenomenally in high A. What does that do for that roster, having the contributions of all different age groups?
In a perfect world, the older players should have more experience, and they can pass that experience along to the younger players. The younger players, like an 18-year-old Salas, they are talented, otherwise they wouldn't be here in the first place.
Of course.
But they have a lot to learn. One of the goals all teams strive for is to get their players to perform at their maximum while being relaxed at the same time. It's a challenge, but it can be done.
Yeah, and someone we've seen who's been able to do that, it looks like. You see all the raw tools on the field, on display, and it's working right now. Homer Bush Jr., we've discussed him in the past. Just what has this past week really shown you for Homer?
Number one, the last homestand, I briefly had a chance to speak with Homer after one of the games. One of the nicest guys you would ever want to talk to.
That.
Again, his dad played for Waterloo, the first ever game that Fort Wayne appeared in the Midwest League back in April of 1993. And Dad got to the big leagues. I believe he played 6 years. He was an all-star player, an infielder.
A lot of talent in that family.
And so you learn to pick up some of the traits that his dad had. Number one, he loves the game. He literally flies around the bases. Second in the Midwest League in stolen bases, I believe, as we're doing our little chit-chat now. He's got 42 stolen bases on the year. And he uses that speed not only offensively in trying to generate runs, he utilizes the speed defensively. He plays the position I used to play many years ago, center field. One of the reasons people come out to the ballpark, especially those that are what I call baseball-minded, they want to see what's going to happen. Homer Bush Jr. can generate excitement. Excitement can bring more fans out to the ballpark. You get more fans in attendance, they become what I've called the 10th man at home. And just come out to Parkview Field sometime. TinCaps in a tough game. He gets to the 7th, 8th, or 9th inning. They either have to get a run to tie the game or a run to win the game. You get Bush up and get him on base, and then watch that crowd go to work. And everybody's confidence builds.
Yeah.
That's the kind of player Homer Bush can be, better than what he is now, which is pretty good.
Well, speaking of guys that we've seen grow and we've seen develop, we've got the Futures game this upcoming weekend. We've got Ethan Salas, current TinCap was selected. I know Robbie Snelling, former TinCaps, also heading onto that roster. What has that been like, being able to see those guys as they develop and get this recognition at the biggest stage that minor league baseball has?
I will give my colleague John Nolan credit for what I'm about to say because he's done his homework. On last night's broadcast of the doubleheader, John noted this is the third year in a row that Fort Wayne, a high Class A team, has sent a player to the Futures game. Ironically, there's only one other team that has done it over the same period at this level, and ironically, it's the Great Lakes Loons.
Wow.
And you look back, last year, Jackson Merrill, and the year before that, Robert Hassel II, and now Ethan Salas joins that group. If he can get the batting average up a little bit higher, he's more knowledgeable than one would think for just an 18-year-old. He knows the game. He's learning how to handle pitching staffs more and more each day. He has a strong throwing arm. He has a sense of what it's like to be a catcher and anticipates what either an opposing batter or base runner is going to do.
Yeah, that's the stuff you can't really teach.
That's the stuff you cannot teach. Some of that is just naturally acquired, be it from watching the game at a young age or starting to play the game at a young age. But Ethan Salas, we've said this before, we'll say it again. Fans come out to Parkview Field because you never know how much longer Ethan Salas will be on this team.
This time last year, Jackson Merrill had just been moved up to San Antonio, and we've already been talking about him a little bit. One of those 4 former TinCaps in the All-Star game. Just for Fort Wayne fans, what is that going to be like, being able to see those guys at the top level?
Unfortunately, they will not be able to see Fernando Tatis Jr., who was voted in as a starting outfielder. Fernando has an injury. He's trying to get back. He's been out since the middle of June. But fans remember what he did. Again, he's the career home run leader in Fort Wayne with 21. We talked a little bit about Jackson Merrill, who's on the roster. Trey Turner, who was here in 2014. Only a half a season, but the numbers he put up, and he gave us a glimpse of what he could do and what he has done since. C.J. Abrams had a brief stopover, just a couple of games, 9 at-bats, but he is also in the Washington organization. And you stop and think, these are still kids in their early to mid-20s. To think, they all graced us here at Parkview Field, and they showed us glimpses of what they're able to do now at the highest level of professional baseball.
Yeah. Well, as we wrap up, I want to circle back to one thing you said earlier. You talked about your prowess playing center field when you were a bit younger. So what skills did you have, and how do they translate to today if you were going to be put in that outfield of the Major League All-Star game now, or even the Futures game? I want to see you out there.
The good Lord gave me the ability to run at an early age. Center fielders have to cover a lot of ground. They have to be what I call relatively quick, like a Homer Bush. I mean, he could run track with the best of them right now. But you have to anticipate what the opposition is going to do. You've got to love this game. You've got to want to be the best. You've got to pay the price to be the best. And we can talk this about center fielders, but it's about all positions.
It's about everyone, yeah.
If a person wants to make it to the major leagues, they've got to have undeniable determination, the want, the drive to be successful. Selfishly, I plead, come out to Parkview Field, see these players. Just to be able to say, someone who maybe saw a game in 2017, I saw Fernando Tatis Jr. when he was in Fort Wayne. I saw Jackson Merrill in 2023 when he was with the TinCaps. And now here he is, a Major League All-Star. That's the beauty of the sport. You see people grow. You see people want to succeed. You want to see them make it to the big time. And you can always say, I saw him win by coming out to the ballpark.
Yeah, that's wonderful. All right, thanks, Mike. And that's going to do it for us this week. But we'll be back with more Locker Room right after this break. Thanks.